Well, welcome to everybody that's joining us. So I'm just going to take a few more minutes to let everybody log in and then we'll get started. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us. So my name is Jim Lamancusa, and I am the new executive director for the Pet Sustainability Coalition. I am now 8 months into the job. So I'm relatively new. So some of you may have not seen my face before. So a little bit of background on me, just so you know who I am and why I ended up here at PSC is, so I've been in the CPG industry for 25 years. I've worked in natural foods, the outdoor industry, and I have also run my own brand called Kusa Tea and Coffee for the last 7.5 years. So I've been in sales and marketing and entrepreneurship. So I have been on the brand side for a very long time. And when I came here and we looked at our webinar calendars, I was really excited to say, I want to do a webinar for people like where I was. I want to be able to understand what buyers are looking for. So I've spent 25 years presenting products to buyers, and I think it's one of the most impactful things that we can do is to understand what they're looking for and how we can best promote our products and what types of products they're even looking for. So that was the genesis behind this webinar overall. But I'm so thrilled to be here at the Pet Sustainability Coalition. Overall, I really wanted to I want to make an impact on the planet. And the pet industry has an enormous impact on the planet, and the decisions that we make can really change the trajectory of the globe. So for that reason, I am here to make an impact. And if I haven't met you in person, I'm so happy. Super Zoo is a week and a half away. So those of you that'll be there, I will definitely like to meet you and meet everybody in our coalition in the future. So as far as the attendees for this webinar, so we have more registrants for this webinar than we've ever had in the history of the coalition. So we're really excited for that. As far as the members versus non-members, 55% of the attendees are members and 45% are non-members, which is really exciting for me to be able to bring more people into the coalition. So I just wanted to take 2 minutes and explain what is the Pet Sustainability Coalition. So we have over 200 pet industry companies from across the entire supply chain. So everything from ingredient suppliers and packaging suppliers, manufacturers, brands, retailers, distributors. And our three main pillars are ingredients, packaging, and corporate responsibility. So we firmly believe, and I believe that we should meet companies wherever they are on their sustainability journey. So I think one of the things that's really scary when starting sustainability is worrying that you're not doing enough. And I just want to first of all say that you're not doing not enough. Everybody is doing something, and we want to meet you where you are, and then create a roadmap to creating a more sustainable future. So for the last 6 months, I've been working with the internal PSC team to revise our member benefits. And I am so excited that at Super Zoo, we will be launching our new enhanced member benefits. So if you have not talked to your member services rep yet and you're going to Super Zoo, please do, because we want to sit down with you and show you what we've got cooking that it's new and enhanced. And if you're not a PSC member, we would love to schedule time with you to show you how we can help create a win-win for your business as well as the planet. Overall, we look for the low-hanging fruit, like what is going to be good for the planet as well as profitable for your business. They don't have to be separate. So that's a little bit about who PSC is. Last week we had our second best attended webinar we've ever had, which is our blueprint for sustainable protein sourcing. So if you haven't seen that one, we do have a recording on our website, and I'll have one of our employees drop it into the chat now so that you can download that blueprint. But it shows you basically all of the things that you should be looking at as a brand or product for how to source your protein more sustainably. So it's a 71-page document, but it's also boiled down into very actionable steps that you can take to make appropriate and sustainable protein sources. So at Super Zoo, we have two exciting networking opportunities. So the first one is our coffee, which is on Thursday morning. So stop by the booth on Thursday morning for a free cup of coffee to meet all of our PSC members. And then Thursday evening, I'm also going to have one of our employees drop it into the chat. We're having a networking event. We already have 250 registrants for it, but it's at the 1923 bar, which is in the Mandalay Bay. And it's just going to be a great happy hour networking event for all of our coalition so that you can meet each other, talk about your success stories, maybe meet a few new retailers to sell your products, maybe meet a few new suppliers. So please come by that networking happy hour, or that happy hour. It's going to be awesome. So upcoming webinars on August 28th, we are doing our materialities webinar. So what is materiality? So I'm just going to read this because it was even new to me when I started here. So a materialities assessment is a process used by organizations to identify, prioritize, and understand the sustainability issues that are most important to their stakeholders and business. So join us for this webinar to grasp the essentials of ESG materiality, learn how to conduct an ESG materiality assessment, and discover how to integrate its findings into your sustainability strategy and reporting. So please join us on August 28th at 9 a.m. It'll be awesome. So now let's get to the meat of this webinar. So I want to introduce our panelists. So we have Tori Martin and Jess Munoz from PFX, a distributor in the industry. We have Andy from Two Bostons. We have Annabelle from Jolly's, which is a retailer in the UK. So let's get into it. So actually, before I ask the first question, I wanted to let you know that in our RSVP, we asked you, are you a food brand, non-food brand, or other? And I wanted to let you know that there's 42% food brands here. There's 32% non-food, and then 26% other. So let's get into it. So I'm going to direct this first question to Tori and Jess from PFX. So can you describe the overall process for selecting new products to stock? What key factors and metrics influence your decision when you are considering new products?
So when we're presented with new products or brands, we definitely take a look at our existing portfolio to see if adding this brand or product would be beneficial and would align with our current offering. And then on the flip side of that, we want to see if it'll fulfill a need in our current portfolio. Maybe there's a gap that we could add some new innovation to or grow an existing category. And then, of course, we're obviously looking at reviewing pricing and margin structure to make sure that it makes sense for both us as well as the retailers.
Great. Appreciate that. Anything you guys want to add, Annabelle or Andy? All right. Then I am going to throw this over to you, Annabelle, for the second question. What consumer trends are currently impacting your buying decisions?
One of the key trends that we're looking for at the moment is recyclability. Now, the first thing that everybody thinks of is obviously packaging, but we also look for it in the product itself if it's non-food. We don't want to be generating a lot of products which customers throw away, though we appreciate there are a lot of pet items which are still desirable to be that single-use, short-lived toy. We have to fill both requirements, but as much as we can supply things that are recyclable or made from recycled materials, which maybe they're a material that could never be recycled, but at least we're giving them one more life before they go in the waste stream. Safety and quality are also key in that, so we can't compromise those two to get the benefits of recyclability. So product may be very safe, but it may be very variable quality, or maybe one batch is good, the next batch is bad. With natural products, that's always a challenge. And helping customers understand that if they would like natural, they're not going to have consistent. That's not a battle we've won yet, but it is something that is an impact on our decisions. So natural, but to a point. Pets need to like it. Everything that we list, everything that we get, everything we look at is always tested with the pet separately by our team, the pet that it's designed for. So we don't have anything that comes through the door that hasn't been to one of the team who has that animal to check that they like it, and they will engage with it, etc. I don't want a toy that nothing will play with, or a bedding item that they won't sleep in. It's a bit pointless. And then last point is ethics. So ethics is important in non-food, but the customers demand it in food. So they will always ask us, how did the animal live before it became pet food? Did the farmer get paid a fair wage before their grain, etc., or potatoes or other crop was turned into pet food? And I would love to win the battle on high meat in pet food, because I know from the webinar the other day, that was a key point. Unfortunately, it's still high in demand. So we still have to keep the high meat in the premium tier, but the ethics are really key in that area.
Great. Andy, are you seeing any trends that are different in the US than what Annabelle was talking about?
No, I think that we're definitely seeing that, especially as the generations are changing and the consumers are changing with that we're seeing more of those millennial and Gen X in our stores, and that sustainability message definitely resonates with them. I think to Annabelle's point, though, our stores are not museums. You can't have a bunch of stuff sitting there that people that isn't desirable for them. So, a lot of that function needs to be there as well. And that's continues to be the trend that we see. And also that quality across the board is the thing that customers are wanting. So, it's not a, race to the bottom cheap thing, but there has to be quality for what they're getting for their purchase.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm going to stay with you, Andy, because I'm just going to pivot to the economy. So, one of the big trends that everybody's talking about is the current economic climate. And so I'm just curious if you can share how this has affected sales for you, and if there's any trends within the economy that you can share with the community.
Sure. So we're in the Chicagoland area, just for reference for everyone that's here. I know in looking at our stores are all up this year. And I know that is not the case with everyone in the industry. So we're very grateful for that. But it is a lot of work on the sales floor with my team educating customers as to why these are the best products for them. So I think that gone are the days where you can just put it on the shelf and it will disappear on its own. There really has to be that education component, and I think that does benefit those brands that do help provide that information for our teams, and also that have a message to tell customers.
So we have a lot of brands that are on this webinar. Can you share with brands how you wish that they could help your team educate the customer better?
I really think that a lot of either brand reps or brands think that by putting the material out in a trade publication or by email blasting it or whatever, that we're all getting it and we're all seeing it, whereas really I need information that I can give to my team. What are the features and benefits that they can use to actually show these to the customers? And a lot of time these sustainability benefits are actually it's for all of us, right? But it's also it's for the consumer a lot of times, as opposed to for the pet, and it's how they feel and that they know that they are making a smart decision, not only for their pet, but for the planet as well. So I think that the place that a lot of brands fall down is that we don't get anything outside of what we would get at a trade show, or if we have to go and research it ourselves. So being able to make that message easy for the sales associate who's going to be talking to that customer would be something that would be a huge benefit that we don't always see.
Great. I appreciate that. So Tori and Jess, I'm going to pivot over to you. So as the distributors in the industry, and this wasn't a question that we talked about before, but I love this topic that we're going off of, is how do you work with brands to get education through the pipeline of distribution to the retail store and eventually to the consumer?
So when it comes to working with the brands, we first kind of already see what they have in the pipeline as far as marketing, as far as who they actually have repping the brand, or if they have their own sales rep, or if they work with a third-party rep group. We have them lean in pretty heavy with our sales teams, who are going to be in the field, going into retail stores, working hand in hand to not only get the product placed and on shelf, but to help extend that education with the retailer. And then from there, we really utilize kind of field feedback on what they're seeing that retailers need. we kind of will tweak it and cultivate a plan moving forward with the brands to say, hey, this is really what we're hearing from retailers on what they need as far as support. And if the brand really wants to do the right thing and make that step towards giving the retailers what they want, they will work with their team internally to put together, sometimes virtual trainings are a great tool, especially since COVID, people are really utilizing online connectivity. Having reps do ride-alongs and actually go in store and do hands-on training with the team in the retail location, that goes a really long way. Leaving samples to not only be able to give that piece of education, but literally leave them with the product to touch and feel for themselves. So we try to give as much feedback that we hear from out in the field, from our team, from retail, to really help them design the most effective and successful training and just educational opportunity with the retailers.
Awesome. Great.
And
Well, I'm going to
just
stay with,
I
yeah,
was just going
please.
to add on to that quickly that we also just have a lot of marketing materials as well. So we have a digital catalog that goes out on a monthly basis where we're able to add in link videos and any sell sheets or informational sheets so that that information is just easily accessible as well.
Great. Love it. Well, I'm going to stay with you for this next question. So what recent innovations in the pet industry have caught your attention?
So as far as innovation, I feel like, we go to Super Zoo, we go to Global, and while we see a lot of new and exciting, sometimes it's just a take on something that's already out there. But as far as true new innovation, the different styles of alternative foods, we feel like has really taken off in the past year. Raw in general is continuing to be one of the highest performing categories, but when you kind of think outside of general raw, kind of like the alternative, there are some brands that have done something as unique as steamed food or shelf stable, gently cooked. Retailers and consumers are looking for an option for customers that aren't necessarily ready to jump into the raw space, but really are health conscious when it comes to their pet. I think animal wellness has really skyrocketed and how people are considering their pets. They're an extension of their family. They are their family. So they want to treat them and feed them the way that they would feed themselves or their kids. So finding high quality, truthfully too, the most like bio-appropriate diet for their animal as possible has been something we continue to see just elevate in the industry. But definitely more of those unique alternative, not so much just freeze-dried or air-dried, but just kind of some new cool things. Like I said, the steamed is something out there that's really different than I think any of us have seen before. So excited to hopefully see more innovation in that space.
Great. Annabelle, is there anything on your side of the pond that you're seeing innovations? Unique?
I'd say the awareness of pets' mental health and emotional health seems to be a growing trend over here. So calming, de-stress, keeping the pet happy, and for any animal that you have to deal with their waste, gut health. It's been around for a long time, but it keeps resurging with new ingredients and new claims being linked to it. And then from a less tangible side, people are very interested in where the food comes from, how close to where they're buying it was the ingredient grown or farmed or sourced. And as I said earlier, how are the animals treated? How are the people treated in the supply chain? Can we talk about any of them? We have a lot of adverts on the television at the moment from grocery retailers showing us the physical farm where your cherries are grown, for example, and shows you the family, and people are starting to ask for that in pet food as well.
Great. Are there innovations that you think are still needed, Annabelle, that you're looking for?
Yeah, I would say there are definitely some we still need. There is a lot of focus from the consumer end on the beginning of life of a product, so the farms or the person making it, etc. I would like to see more focus on the end of the life of the product. So what do I do with the packaging? How do I know what I'm supposed to do with each part of my packaging? I know we've done a survey recently, lots of people get confused and they just say, oh, I hope it's recyclable, so I'll just put it all in the recycling, which is really not helpful. Or if it's a bedding product, which may be a physical bed, or it may be like sawdust or pellets or something like that. What do they do with it afterwards? What can they do depending on where they live? So if they live in a block of flats or apartments and they have no access to composting, they have no access to outside space, how can they still do something positive at the end of life of that product? We don't want them flushing it down the toilet, and it doesn't need to be going to landfill if we can find somewhere else for it to go.
Yeah, wonderful. Andy, what types of innovations do you think are still needed in the industry?
I mean, outside of what has already been said, I think the big thing that we would like to see is not so much Me Too to happen, and to really, I don't know. It's like getting another freeze-dried line extension or 4 more sizes of a product isn't necessarily, helping us a lot at the retail store, as opposed to something that has a unique message or that we can use to educate the customer about a specific trend or a specific benefit that they would have to them. So that's what we're seeing.
Great. And I'll stay with you, Andy. So what do you think? Let's shift gears to sustainability. So how important is sustainability in your product selection process?
So I think it's something that for my wife, Adrienne, and I, who own the company, it is very important. But it has to be a really great product as well. So, our customers are coming in, they are voting with their dollars for the types of products that they want, to have. Within that, if a product has a sustainability message as well, that could be the deciding factor that makes that a better choice. Now, I do know that message resonates heavily with my team. And one of the things that I know is that if you are a brand that has any type of sustainability message that my team knows about and that they can talk about, I have to assume that those team members are showing products that do fit that customer's need. But if you were, brand A that was sustainable versus brand B that wasn't, my team is on the floor all the time with the customers. I have to think that they're going to be showing that brand A first to those customers.
Makes total sense. Tori and Jess, from a distribution standpoint, how important is sustainability for you, and how does it weigh into the product selection process?
So PFX is huge on sustainability. So we think that it's very important to partner with vendors that share that same passion for sustainability. We also we ask about sustainability practices and whether a company has sustainability practices as part of our initial vendor questionnaire. So basically, when we're onboarding a brand or in discussions with a brand, we have a potential vendor questionnaire that essentially outlines some basic information about the brand: SKU count, price point, product deck, all of those things. And one of those questions asks about sustainability practices because we do feel like it is very important for new brands that we're in discussions with to have those in place. And if we have a product that basically has a similar price point, similar features and benefits, but they have a sustainability piece and another brand doesn't, that certainly gives them a leg up in our decision-making process. So
great. And so talk to me more about the onboarding questionnaire. Are there specific certifications or practices that you're looking for? I mean, we all know that the greenwashing is real. So how do you break through all that chatter to get to what's truly sustainable?
Yep. So we ask them just basic questions about what their sustainability practices include. And then depending on where the conversation goes, we really dive into, if this is an opportunity we do plan on pursuing, it is something that we're definitely vetting out prior to the onboarding process. So we're taking a look at, we go as far as, necessarily visiting facilities, meeting with the team in person to really make sure that what they're claiming is true. So I would say it's super important, and it really is dependent on the product in terms of, what we're looking for claims. If we're looking for sustainable farming practices, that's important. Some packaging is important, but it's really just product dependent, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Annabelle, are there specific certifications that you're looking for? Is it organic? Is it regenerative agriculture? If you're looking at packaging, is there certain types of certifications you're looking for recyclability or recycled content? But talk to me more about like what our brands and our listeners can do to make sure that they're giving you the right certifications that would prove sustainability.
The first set of accreditations we look for normally come from the PSC list. So we look for things like FSC if it has wood in there. We will also, if it's relevant, ask for, there are audits that can be done, ethical audits. So Amfori is a key one where they will visit the site for us. I would love to visit every site of every supplier that we partner with. There are sadly too many, and I don't think my team would appreciate the airline bill, or it would be very good for the environment. So we get local people sometimes to check those places out. In terms of packaging, I say lucky. I don't know if all the packaging team on the call would agree that in the UK there are an increasing number of laws and restrictions coming in on packaging. So it sort of comes as standard if a company can show they will comply with that law, which the government will give a guide on. Then we're happy that they're proving recycled content. They're proving recyclability, because we need to do it for our compliance and they need to do it for theirs. From a food point of view, there are British and European food points. So there's GAP for animal welfare. In the UK, we also have things like Red Tractor. Organic was very popular a while ago. I would say organic is probably less popular now. I'm not seeing it so much in grocery stores. We're not being offered it so much. It seems to be less of a decision factor. But regenerative farming, there is no one accepted, known, understood standard that we can point out, especially not in Europe, and say exactly that one, that's the one that customers understand. But customers know the term. So if you can show me and my team the traceability for that claim, personally, that's one of the ones I really love. More so, I'm sorry to say, than organic, because at least we can show some alternatives.
That's great. Andy, anything else to add on certifications that you look for to make sure that the products aren't greenwashing?
Yeah, I think we have 7 stores, and so we aren't as large and do not have as many resources to put towards that. I think for us, the sustainability message is looking and seeing if they're a member of PSC is a kind of a quick check of at least a company that is wanting to move in the right direction. I would also say that we are not necessarily sustainability purists, in that we are looking for anyone to make any sort of improvement is a positive step in the right direction. And so I would say that that's kind of where we would fall down. And I would imagine that most other independent retailers, mom and pops, who don't have as much of a department or an ability to really dig in, that those are some of the things that we would rely on a little more heavily.
That's great. No, I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, it might be surprising to hear, but that's where we are at PSC as well, is that there is no perfect product. Every product has some sort of a carbon impact, but we're here to help people make small steps, and small steps turn into big leaps over years. And so it's that sustainability roadmap to say, this year we're going to tackle this, next year we're going to tackle that. And so it's this like, yep, I saw in the chat, progress over perfection, which is the most important thing, but every little step makes a difference. So I appreciate you saying that, Andy. Okay, so I'll stay with you, Andy. Are there sustainable products that you would like to see more of in the future?
Man, I think in the toy category, that would be huge. One of the things we're seeing a huge explosion in the amount of like interactive and puzzle and what I would consider like multiple use toys, where they're designed to last longer. I know in that durable toy category, that would be another thing that I would love to see more of a sustainability or recycling piece, similar to what Westpaw does with their toys. So I know that those are 2 areas where, again, we're selling that quality component, and for people to be able to know what to do with it afterwards, or know that it's going to last a good amount of time, would be key.
That's great. Tori and Jess, can you give any specific examples of sustainable products that have performed well for you and your retailers?
Yeah, absolutely. With that, before I kind of jump into examples of sustainable products, we have seen, we're talking progress over perfection. We've seen a lot of brands, not just in our portfolio, but in the industry as a whole, that to all of your points have really started utilizing little changes and improvements here or there to kind of weigh towards more of the sustainable side. We have a large and very well-known treat and chew vendor that has recently changed their plastic packaging to recycled cardboard. We have a dog treat brand that has utilized a completely solar powered facility that they track their carbon footprint and share it for full transparency and traceability with retailers so that they can really show how mindful and how important it is for their impact to kind of be tracked and traced on the earth. So they're very earth conscious and think about the environment before they're really thinking about ultimately the sales and driving force of their product. So we do think that it's making a huge change in the industry. People are starting to see very large companies make the step in the direction of more sustainable practices. And I think smaller brands are also starting to follow in suit. We have a new brand in our portfolio that is a very successful kind of like an interactive chew. It's like a ball that you can put a chew inside that has recycled rubber. They utilize different natural rubber aspects to their toy that when you just give the education to the retailer about what it is, the longevity of the product, and really how it is sourced and manufactured. We've all kind of said it on this call several times that this generation and upcoming generations are a lot more conscious of sustainability and how we are helping the earth. We want, the earth to be around for as long as possible. So any steps that a brand is taking to kind of show their care for their impact, it's going a long way. I think sometimes it can even be the driving force behind why people will choose this toy brand over that toy brand or this chew over that chew when they know, oh, I'm not buying this product and I'm stuck with this plastic that I don't really know what to do with. It feels good. You don't really have that guilt of buying into something that comes from a more mindful and ethically sourced product. So we are seeing the industry take that route for sure. And products are doing the right thing by trying to follow suit.
Love it. Annabelle, in the UK, are you seeing, can you give some examples of sustainable brands that are performing well in your store?
I would say the brands with the emotional story are all performing very well. So when we talk about the ethics of the ingredients or the ethics of the manufacture, they're all very popular. It is a very easy message to portray for the teams in store. So they normally just have the time it takes for the person to ask them a question and then walk to the product to explain the benefits of the product. So that's 30 seconds. Maybe if they can't put it across in that time, then they're not going to succeed. Same as if they use words the customer doesn't understand, then they won't succeed then. So a lot of food products where there is a strong ethical message that's very easy to pass on, they perform very well. Customers also like natural items. When I say natural, they will accept that a deer will not shed antlers that are all the same shape, size, and color. I'm really glad that they accept that, or that wood is not all the same size and color. Those are very popular, but we do get asked, what do I do when it's no longer safe for the pet? So they are popular, but it's again, what do I do with it afterwards? We all know that bone, antlers, etc., they don't degrade very easily, but I know because I like gardening, I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy it. I know that they're very good for my plants, so I know if I bury it in certain places, but I'm lucky and I have a garden. I know most people in the UK do not have a garden, so they can't do it. So in terms of trends, the natural treats, the kind of treating not treating the dog or the cat like a wild animal, but treating them in a way you feel is more natural, closer to what you see famous documentary people like David Attenborough showing wild animals eating and engaging with, going that way because they feel it's better for their mental health, engages their natural drives more. There is a big push on fulfilling your dog's or your cat's natural needs, and that's not the same for every pet. So they need the variety within the same style of product.
Well, that's fascinating. So let's go to one of the harder questions, Annabelle. How do you balance the cost considerations with sustainability goals? Because we would love to have everything sustainable on shelf, but the customer has to buy it, or none of us stay in business.
I think that's the hardest topic. Every sustainability meeting I've ever been in, we always ask that question of, but it makes it this much more expensive. What is the ceiling? And we always have to test that in different categories. So there is no one answer. I would love to have one answer for that question, but it's a different answer in super premium food to mid-tier food to toys, cat versus small animal versus dog. They're all different. We generally use as a guide sort of what would they pay for another claim which might be similar. So if we look at how organic used to perform, they'd say it had X, Y, and Z benefit, and they would command, let's say, a 10% for a random number price premium for that. As things become more normalized, you will not be able to ask for that price premium anymore. I would equate it to safety. So customers assume the product will be safe. They are starting to assume the product will be sustainable, with some exceptions. They understand if it is a very, very cheap product, that probably hasn't been put into consideration. But as soon as they start to get at the price of a takeaway or a medium-sized dinner in a restaurant, that's when they'll start to assume, I would pay that for a meal in a restaurant versus making the food at home myself. Therefore, things are going to start to come as standard. I don't expect to cook my own food in the restaurant or to wash up the dishes afterwards. I don't expect if I'm looking at a product that's premium for other reasons, that sustainability wouldn't be included in those reasons. So it needs to be wrapped up, and hopefully with all of the work that we're all doing, you'll get the economies of scale. We can start pulling those prices down, or it becomes business as usual and the prices all stay the same.
Yeah, fascinating. Andy, do you agree that the US consumer is assuming that products are sustainable unless it's the really low tier product?
I wouldn't say that my customer is that
Discerning.
is that way. And so, but I do think that within our stores and within our selection, we guarantee we wouldn't carry anything we wouldn't give our own dogs. So there is an expectation, I think, from our customers of a level of quality when they come in. Now, having said that, will customers pay more for a sustainable item? I think Annabelle has a great point. Depends on the category and how much that delta is. If I'm comparing two durable toys and this one's less durable and sustainable versus durable, a lot of my customers are going to go for that more durable option, or we may go towards a durable chew, or they're going to make a different decision that way. So I think it is category by category, and for those of you who are on the call, that's how buyers think about their inventory, is by category. So you really have to look at the group where your merchandise plays and see where it would slot, good, better, best, within our mixes.
Yeah. So how do you balance cost considerations with sustainability?
I think it's a product by product basis. I mean, I think that's one of the tough things is, you look at it and where does this fit into my existing product mix? Is this a category that's growing, or is it a category that's dying? Investing into a premium product in a category that's on its way out would be less likely for us than to look at a category that we're building and growing over time, or can see a path to this replacing that. And so we're going to build it up that way. So it really is a category by category, buy basis.
Yeah.
Buy basis. Yeah. For us to be looking at.
Do you find that there's certain categories that customers are willing to pay a larger delta for sustainability versus ones that they're not?
I think that what we see is that products that they put in their pet's body, food, wellness, treats, that is definitely a part of the conversation. And the brands that are doing the best in terms of highlighting that ethical sourcing, transparency, et cetera, we're seeing that is something that is a big part of those conversations when it's an edible.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Tori and Jess, from a distributor standpoint, you deal with so many retailers across the board. Do you see that there's certain categories that customers are willing to pay more for to get that premium sustainable product versus ones that they're less willing?
I think it's kind of voicing what Annabelle and Andy have already said too, but definitely echoing Andy's comment that food is definitely a category that people are willing to spend some serious dollar, not just on the sustainability aspect, like when they know that the product is ethically sourced, the proteins, the ingredients, they come, especially local sourcing is huge because in general, that's just more sustainable practice than taking meats and other ingredients from outside of the country. The packaging of the food, and also just what that food is doing for their animal. If it is a more processed, oven baked, filled food versus a more bio natural, lesser ingredient, higher protein, better quality ingredients. We're seeing that right now, that as far as categories among our portfolio, and I think distribution in general, toys are taking a hit. People are not buying as many toys as they used to before. Treats taking a hit, not as much as toys are, but food is still continuing to skyrocket and bring numbers up because people are still willing to spend a good amount of their money to not just feed themselves organic, but feed their animals, if not organic, something as close to that, and something that is very sustainably sourced, and just good quality ingredients. So I think that's the category we've seen and will continue to see kind of stay above all the others.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you. So I'm going to shift now into, so we had 71 questions from originally, and then I'm going to go into the chat here. So I'm going to start shifting into the questions that we got before the webinar started, and I'll stay with you, Tori and Jess. So, and I'm going to go through each because I think it's important to have, we have a large retailer, a smaller retailer, and distributor. So can you tell me, how do you like to be approached by a new product or a brand? Advice that you can give.
So we have several different avenues where a vendor can basically reach us. So we have a Become a Vendor link on our website that basically is a questionnaire that goes directly to us, asks questions about the brand, and then we're able to review those and look if there's, maybe a gap in our portfolio that it's worth pursuing additional conversations. We also have a lot of industry referrals that flow through our team, as well as going to larger trade shows like Global, Super Zoo, and being able to meet with those vendors there as well. So I would say providing as much information as you can. So product deck is super important, any sustainability efforts, differentiators of the product, informational sheets, pricing, all of that just helps with us being able to evaluate the brand properly. But yes, we get hundreds and hundreds of new inquiries. So it's great to see. And it's great to see that, there's people out there willing to partner with us and, move towards that more sustainable story.
Great. Is there anything that's a turnoff for you?
I wouldn't necessarily say a turnoff. It's more so just, it's very difficult to evaluate a brand when we're given very minimal information. So I would say, like, just with the number of inquiries that we have, providing as much information as possible certainly helps move through that process.
Great. Good advice. All right, Annabelle, same question. How do you like to be approached by a new product or brand?
It's echoing what Tori and Jess said. So we're at the shows, we're out and about talking with people. Just to build on that, I would say that just be aware that a lot of the time we're reading your content on our phones. So I get these beautiful presentations, which are very nice. I can't see it. It's too small. So a top sheet or a summary or something like that with just some brief points, very helpful. Some of my colleagues do prefer pictures, so a couple of graphics or pie charts or graphs or something are also helpful, so that within that limited time reading it on a phone, you can see it. We have laptops as well. We're out and about with a laptop, but if you want to catch us, we'll be on the phone. Yeah, and having that point where you're helping us understand why we need to remove something, because to list anything in the store means removing something. So why am I removing something else? I'm not saying a directed attack on another product, but to Andy's point earlier, if it's just a Me Too that's 5% cheaper or has a slightly stronger sustainability claim or meat claim or something else, why am I removing something else to put your product in? Just it's a lot of effort for me to take something out to put your product in. in terms of sorting out the warehousing, getting it to stores, all of the training, help me say yes, help me know what I'm taking out, help make that decision for me, not in a dying category, in a very lively one, but just that decision tree of if I don't have to go through and stand in front of it all and work out what I'm pulling out to put something in, and why I'm doing that, so I can justify it to the teams who have to stand there and spend, hopefully it's just 20 minutes, but for a large item, it would be an hour, 2 hours across 100 and something stores, spending all of that time making those changes. What am I doing, where, and why? And
Great.
just short things that I can read on my phone.
Yeah, to that point, are there certain data or metrics that really grab your attention when somebody makes a new product presentation?
Any of the larger metrics are very helpful. So you have Kantar data, you have Euromonitor data, you have all of these big things which will show, can be used to show what's in growth, what's in decline, what's performing well, what in a related category. So pets and babies, everybody knows they're very, very close. If something's performing very well in babies, it's not quite hit pets. If something's performing very well in a similar area like that, you say, well, it's not there yet, but it's doing very well. But from those independent, large data sets, those are really useful for us because they often also give you a very pretty graph, which I can look at quickly.
Love it. All right, great advice. Andy, over to you. Same question.
How do I like to be sold? One, I like someone who actually knows what our business is, and who's maybe read our website and what we're about, and could probably tell from that whether or not their product would be a good fit or not. Just right from the get-go, reaching out, sampling. Where can I send a sample of my product? Don't wait for the trade show. Don't wait for us to hopefully happen upon, this item in the booth if you think that it's a good fit. I think echoing the point that all of the ladies have made about making sure that you have all the information in there. Importantly, tell me how I can get your product, because a lot of times it's like, you have to keep coming back to the well. It's like, make it easy for me. And then when I bring it on, what is our training plan for introducing that to our team, getting them on all board, and then so that we're able to have a successful launch of your product in the store is super, super helpful.
That's great. So I'll stay with you, Andy. Switching gears a little bit. How do you, this is a question from the crowd. So how do you decide when it's okay to buy Chinese or foreign made products?
So again, one, for us, the edible thing is kind of like a no-go for China. Our customers don't want it. Other countries don't have that same stigma. I think, we're all scarred from, 2007, 2008 with the melamine scare, right? Like, they just don't want. And I don't know, if and when that will happen again. I'm sure that will create something else for someone. I think it's hard to get toys that aren't made in China. It's great when they aren't, or if they, if we're able to do something different, I think that's great. But that's one area where it's really difficult to avoid that. So I think for us, the edibles, again, would be a bit of a red line.
Great. Tori, Jess, do you agree with that?
Yes, definitely agree with the edible piece. I think too, being distribution, we can only confidently bring things in that we know our sales team and our retailers will get behind. And echoing Andy, a lot of what we hear is that retailers just not necessarily ready to dive into a lot of China manufactured products. And even outside of China, there are other foreign products too that aren't necessarily up everyone's alley. A lot of people are looking for USA sourced or manufactured. So we can't really say yes to something knowing that the majority will not follow in suit and will say no, which has kind of been the theme the last couple of years with those type of products in particular. When we are approached with any Chinese manufacturer or any manufacturer outside of the USA, we do still look into it and kind of look at legitimacy behind the product. If we've heard of it, if people have talked about it, if it's feedback that we've received, people have, oh, my retailer has tried this product that's manufactured from here. They really like it. We should look into it. Or if it's a conversation that we've had at Super Zoo or Global with specific companies that we kind of have met the people, we know what they're about, we know what the business standard is. It doesn't necessarily still mean it's something we're going to move forward with, but we will really only consider and say yes to what our team and who we're selling to will say yes to. So still not something we've jumped too far into yet, but always something that we consider because we never know what the future for a product from anywhere outside of the USA will really do for us.
Great. Appreciate that. So I'm going to stay with Tori. Do you ever consider retailer feedback? This is a question from the crowd.
Yeah, of course. When we're being approached by vendors, when I mentioned that we get inquiries via our website, retailers often have feedback for our sales team, and then it kind of just funnels through the pipeline that way. So we're happy to take any of that feedback. Talk to maybe an existing vendor if they have some feedback about a specific product or a specific brand that they need, maybe additional support on, anything like that. And then we're also looking for, new vendor inquiries through retailers as well. We recently onboarded a new vendor this year, and we heard a ton from retailers and from our sales team being like, hey, we think this would be a great opportunity. Is it something that, you would like to pursue? And we're like, we're already in conversations with them. So we definitely take that seriously because we truly value our relationships with our retailers.
That's great. Thank you. Annabelle, so what are the trends in packaging demand? And is there a noticeable transition from cans to pouches, wet pet food, for example?
For wet pet food, I would say it depends on the animal. So with dogs, they are moving towards cans and tins and things like that, but there is still the desire for smaller dogs, which are treated, I would say, more closely to cats in the traditional behavioral sense, to have pouches because it's a convenience item. There are areas where customers feel it's very important to have sustainable, recyclable packaging. Pouches does not seem to be one of them. We look in our cat area as well, just to try and move them into aluminium trays, which are more easily recyclable. Sorry. And it's just the texture, the feel, the look. Customers don't want to touch the product with a pouch. I was discussing this with some team members yesterday who will have cats. They all said, I don't want to touch it. From a packaging side, they said, I know it's good quality. I know it's a lovely product. It smells delicious. My cat loves it. I don't want to touch it. Some of them were vegetarian. There was one vegan in the group, so I understand in their daily lives they don't touch meat, but they understand that it's something that does very good nutritionally for their pet. But pouches, that's a challenging one. In terms of dry pouches, so for treats and items like that, there is a move towards recyclable. There's new legislation coming in the UK where we have to have additional charges for items that are not recyclable. So that's really helping push. And I know that it's not the way we wanted it to happen, but it is pushing everybody to demand from their packaging suppliers recyclable material, whatever possible, and also lighter, smaller material, because at the end of the day, packaging isn't just a material, it's a volume and a weight. So if it's a very heavy piece of packaging, it's going to require more weight in the truck. That's more diesel to get it to wherever it's going. If it's a high volume packaging, that's more trucks on the road to get it wherever it's going to get it recycled or to get it to the end of its life. We want to get it there as efficiently as possible, as well as getting it to the best place.
That's great. Thank you. So we got a couple questions on education. So Annabelle, Andy, I'm going to throw these to you. So in terms of education, what is the best form to receive it? Is it a thorough training deck, an online educational platform? And in addition, do you allow in-store trainings through a brand rep?
We do allow in-store trainings under certain circumstances, so it would depend how large the launch is, how big the range is. I wouldn't allow it probably for one item, unless it was the most popular, most trending item ever. But in terms of staff training, anything that can be given in, say, a stand-up meeting, I find that things that do very well are the PowerPoint slides that follow sort of the 5x5 general rule, 5 points, 5 words, quickly delivered, with the simple language, because it will be given to teams who will, I would love to say they all work a full week and we can keep them all in in the education system for the whole thing, but they have other responsibilities. We have lots of people who work part-time, so helping them read it and learn it quickly. So those short slides where they can quickly look at it and maybe have it on a notice board if they weren't in the day the rep came in, because a lot of the time, if a rep's in store, that might only be a half of the team there or a third of the team there because they have days off. They have different shifts. They can't all stand in front with the trainer. Someone has to be at the front door. Someone has to be on the till. Someone has to be looking after things like that. Online training, again, also very, very helpful, but remembering that the team has limited time in the store. So they can't be spending an hour, as much as I'd love to say that they could, they can't be spending an hour watching a video, learning about product or going through a slide deck when they could be selling your product. So we want them on the store selling your product, not in the back reading a PowerPoint presentation that's very, very long. So short and sweet.
Got it. Andy, what do you think?
I think for us, where we find the most success, especially recently, is when we as owners are of smaller chains and buyers are getting that information and then helping translate that information for our team. So any resources that help us do that. We do have an online training platform that we use. So recently, we had a launch with a brand where they did have a sustainability message, and talking about that in that training, my wife was able to elucidate that, get that out there, make it snappy, make it quick. And then by putting it on the training platform, we can verify that everyone went through the training. We're on our third or fourth reorder. It's doing well. And so we know that does well for us. And in cases where we don't do that, even if we're getting sell sheets where we can provide a one-pager to the team of why is this important? And what are the top 3 features you need to mention to every customer about this? Our team is hungry for knowledge. They want to know about your brand. But to Annabelle's point, they can't just be learning about it all the time. They've got other responsibilities. So we try to distill down all of that information to something that they're going to only have 30 seconds to talk to a customer about your product. What do they need to know in 30 seconds? If you think about that when you're trying to get your message across to retailers, it's like, you've got 30 seconds to sell me on this. And if you can't do it in 30 seconds, it'll be tough to do with the customer too.
Yep, I love it. So we are almost at time here. I want to give each of our panelists just the last 30 seconds, anything that you would like to educate our listeners on about how to work with you, products you're looking for, sustainability. The floor is yours. Why don't I start with Annabelle?
I would say the key message from our side is please don't use too many abbreviations or long words with anything coming across, be it in education or product decks or anything like that. I know what an LCA is. My customers don't know what an LCA is. A lot of my team don't know that. All of these words they can become quite emotionally charged, and then you ask a question, a customer who's educated asks a question back. And nobody actually knows what that means or what that says, but they've got a very strong feeling about that. So from us, just simple language, if we can use it wherever possible.
Great. Tori and Jess, last words of advice.
I would just say that, Pet Food Experts, we are small but mighty, and we really do value our relationship with not just our retail, but our vendor partners as well. It'd be kind of corny, but it is true that we are one big happy family. So we like to treat everybody as such, and coming to us with, a game plan, who you are, what you're about, what you stand for. We're a company that really functions and works off of values and our strong belief system. So being able to kind of show that you are similar in that aspect, you believe strongly, you work hard, you play hard. That's what we're all about. So we just want to be able to not only work with incredible vendor partners, but offer our retailers an amazing brand portfolio. If you think that you fit into that amazing brand portfolio, we would love to hear from you and just really differentiate yourself from the pack. It's really easy to be a Me Too brand and, be just like somebody else, but we're really looking for unique and different and exciting opportunities. And that's my words of wisdom.
Awesome. Tori, anything last to say?
I don't think anything additional. We just look forward to continuing to see vendors also increase sustainability efforts for the long term as well.
I appreciate that so much. All right, Andy, you're the last man standing.
I would just say thank you to everyone who was on the call today. It shows that you're interested in this topic. And I know that we are. And again, progress, not perfection, right? So let's all just keep moving in the right direction.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Tori, Jess, Annabelle, Andy. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And that's a great way to end it, Andy. Progress over perfection. And let's make this place, this whole world, a little bit better for people, planet, and the pets that we all love. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you, most of you, at Super Zoo, I'm sure.